With the Strait of Hormuz shuttered by the escalating conflict between the US and Iran, roughly 20% of the world's seaborne oil has suddenly been cut off from the market. The global supply chain relies on that energy to function. Brent crude quickly surged past $120 a barrel, sending the cost of everything from jet fuel to agricultural fertilizer skyrocketing. Major economies are tapping their emergency reserves, but at current consumption rates, those stopgaps buy weeks of time, not months. In past crises, Washington relied on a united front of European and regional allies to project collective force. Today, that coalition is fracturing. European capitals are balking at the costs, and nations in the global south are quietly turning towards Beijing and Moscow to secure their energy and trade routes. The rules-based international order, the system of treaties and trade routes established after 1945, operates as an engineered construct. This current crisis is exposing the inherent fragility of that design. Military force is only one part of the ledger. Global influence is built on the international monetary system, the rules that have governed world finance since the end of the Second World War. And those rules are now facing a period of intense instability. At the turn of the 20th century, the British pound dictated global trade. It was the absolute standard of value until the outbreak of war. World War I devastated the European continent. To keep fighting, Britain and France bought massive quantities of ammunition and supplies from the US, paying in physical gold and taking on immense debt. By 1918, the US had absorbed Europe's wealth, transitioning from a regional player into the world's primary creditor. By 1944, with another world war nearing its end, delegates from 44 nations met at a mountain resort in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire. Their goal was to architect an economic order that would prevent a repeat of the 1930s financial collapse. The agreement tied participating currencies to the US dollar, which was directly tied to physical gold. To fuel the post-war economy, the US pumped dollars into the market. Eventually, circulating dollars far exceeded the actual gold sitting in American vaults. This system granted America immense global leverage, yet it functioned on a logic that was mathematically guaranteed to reach a breaking point. By August 1971, foreign nations realized the math didn't add up and began demanding their gold. Facing a run on the nation's reserves, President Richard Nixon went on television and severed the dollar's convertibility to gold entirely. To keep the currency valuable without a physical anchor, Washington struck a strategic deal with Saudi Arabia. The U.S. promised military protection for the kingdom. In exchange, the Saudis agreed to price and sell their oil exclusively in U.S. dollars. This dynamic engineered a perpetual cycle of demand. Any country needing energy had to acquire U.S. dollars first. Gulf states reinvested those oil profits into U.S. Treasury bonds, directly financing the American military apparatus protecting the oil supply. This chart shows the footprint of the U.S. dollar compared to the American economy. While the U.S. accounts for 25% of global GDP, its currency is used in 88% of all foreign exchange transactions. Washington has utilized this structural dominance to enforce its foreign policy. By leveraging financial sanctions, the U.S. can unilaterally sever geopolitical adversaries from the global banking network. When a single government can cut off your access to the global economy overnight, the rest of the world eventually starts looking for the exit. That search is rapidly accelerating. The BRICS coalition has expanded, drawing in major energy producers and emerging economies who are actively seeking to bypass Washington's financial reach. They are laying down new plumbing for global trade. This includes heavily funding the new development bank, settling bilateral trade in their own local currencies instead of dollars, and developing central bank digital currencies, sovereign digital money that operates entirely outside traditional banking networks. The goal is a parallel infrastructure where cross-border payments clear seamlessly without ever touching a U.S. correspondent bank or triggering a compliance alert in Washington. This shifting landscape is characterized by the fragmentation of global trade into competing multi-centric financial blocks that Washington cannot easily influence or control. The fallout from the conflict in the Middle East highlights this multi-centric reality. Washington now struggles to dictate terms, while a Russia-China axis capitalizes on the distraction. The cooperative, multilateral system that has governed the globe for 8 decades is cracking under the pressure, replaced by a transactional environment driven by self-interest. It took the devastation of 2 world wars to shift global dominance from the British pound to the US dollar. The question now is what magnitude of disruption will be required to shift it again.